Hello, Night Nation. I'm Trace Trellico, joined by Adam Eaton. Welcome in to Sons of UCF Live. Adam, good to see you again.
Trace, good to see you again. I can't wait to get the show on the road here. We've got great guests. Coach Lounsbury's back, our friends of the Raspy Voice Kids. We've got some video clips. We've got some fun new shows to announce to everybody. And of course, everyone's favorite segment. What's in the box, Trace?
Is it everybody's? Is it
everybody not named Trace's favorite segment? That's for sure.
How was your bye week?
It was restful. It was restful. I think it was good to recharge. I think, honestly, I think probably more so for the players than me, I would think. But a good week. I got to watch some other college football, do some stuff around the house, and just kind of get recalibrated. So we got 2 more to go. Home stretch is here. Let's win these 2 out and finish this season out strong. So I'm feeling good. Hopefully everybody else is feeling good, but I'm feeling good.
What would be your ideal for the team of bye weeks? When would you schedule them if you could schedule them?
It's a great question. I probably would have wanted this one maybe a week sooner. It's because we had the one after week 3, so I'd like to split the difference. I think you can put the season in thirds, right? If I can get my druthers, and I can go what was that 4-4-4 or something like that, right? Like I think that would probably be the best split if you can figure out a way to work that out. So it's probably what I would take. But I like a good early and a good late. Gives you a recharge for the last half of the season. In this case, 2 games for us. But I'd like a good split if I could get it.
Well, it is bowl or bust this weekend for the Knights in Morgantown, West Virginia. At 4-6, the Knights must win out. They must defeat West Virginia, which comes into this one 5-5. 4-3, though, in Big 12 play. This is Saturday, 3:30 on one of the ESPNs. Is this the U or the plus?
It's the U. No, it's the U. We're on the U, Trace. It's probably easier to get the plus than the U, frankly, if I'm being honest with you. But yes, we're on ESPN.
That's true. Weather expected to be cold for this one. You'd think, right, that it would favor the Knights running the ball. We expect Dylan Risk to be starting quarterback for this one. Could be a little windy, could be a little inclement, but running the ball would be a good recipe for the Knights.
Yeah, it usually does work out well when we're able to run the ball effectively. I think when RJ Harvey has 100+ yards, UCF's pretty unstoppable in some respects. But I like the mix that they had in Arizona State, right? They came out, they threw a little bit, set the tempo, and RJ sort of kind of took over and did his part. I think Miles Montgomery did a nice job when he got in there as well. So I think you mix in that tempo. But listen, a heavy dose of RJ Harvey is never a bad strategy to have. And so if that's our play calls on Saturday, I'm okay with it. I like the fact that now we have perhaps maybe a little bit more open of a passing attack, which maybe keeps the defense honest. But to your point in the weather, that may be a challenge.
Coach Malzahn indicated that B.J. Adams, Brandon Adams, practiced, leading up to this one. So we're hopeful that he'll be back. Knights could use him, obviously. He'd be an important piece to get back.
Yeah, I think defensively, right, we're going to have obviously Brandon on a little bit, but West Virginia has 3 guys who have rushed for over 500 yards, including quarterback Garrett Green. So, the more defensive presence we can have, I think obviously it benefits UCF. I think the secondary has probably been a bit of a weak spot the last couple of weeks since BJ's been out. I think against Arizona State there were a couple of plays where you'd like to have maybe a veteran presence back there. So hopefully he brings that to the table and he's able to get back out there and healthy. And he's got a good future in front of him, though, Trace. Right, a Senior Bowl invite coming his way, so hopefully he gets back out there and everything is okay. But obviously Gus is typically tight-lipped with these things. Spoiler alert, if you didn't know that, Gus doesn't like to share injuries. So I guess we don't really know, but hopefully he'll be back out there. So I do think that young secondary could certainly use a veteran presence and someone that can lock down half the field.
When you think of the losses a season ago, of course, your mind goes to that Baylor game, but West Virginia, an underrated loss because that was a beatdown. They rolled over the Knights, 300 some yards in that one. And Coach Malzahn on Monday during his media availability said, Knights are going to have to contain their rush. As you mentioned, they've got some talented backs.
Yeah, they beat us on the field last year, Trace. They beat us in the stands last year. It was a raucous crowd. A lot of West Virginia fans were there. They beat us in the concourse. I think I told the story last year. I stopped in the restroom with my kid on the way out, and there were probably 80 people singing "Country Roads" in the restrooms at UCF. So they beat us soundly last year. And that game kind of points to, I think, what UCF tried to do this year. Right, that was a game where, as it wore on, West Virginia kept running the football with their two-headed monster of a running back tandem plus Garrett Green, and UCF kind of wore down on the lines, right? They couldn't stop them defensively. Offensively, they kind of wore down. And you kind of hope this year would have been the difference, right? That we'd say we'll have those lines that are able to play into the third and fourth quarter and to stand up and stand in there. We haven't seen as much of that, I think, as we all would have liked to have seen. But West Virginia, I think, really was the sort of the model for last year, what UCF had to do differently. Curious to see how this year's team stacks up. And while certainly the results prior to this haven't been fantastic, are we sort of in a better spot than we were last year when West Virginia was able to dominate both lines of scrimmage?
Well, back to the weather in this one. It looks like the temperatures have ticked up a little bit, maybe a high of 48 on Saturday in Morgantown, a low of 40. There is some wintry mix in the forecast. And of course, that was the subject of conversation during the Monday media availability. And it was asked of linebacker Ethan Barr. And let's hear from him on that forecast for cold weather.
I played in a number of cold games. One in particular, I played at Kentucky and it was snowing on us, and we ended up having a really good result at the end of the game. It was fun. I think it's all about the mindset you take to the game and the confidence that you have, that you don't let the weather affect you, and just know that the game is the game. Whatever is outside of the game, you can't control. And taking that approach is going to help our team, help us win.
You researched this week. Did you find anything about coldest game? I mean, I remember the early 90s, they played Youngstown State, and that was one that was pretty known for being frigid for the Knights. Not a lot of history, though, of playing in cold weather. That game a few seasons back at SMU, remember the ice in that one, but that wasn't snow during the game.
Yeah, all I could find of the Youngstown State game in 1990 was the article kept saying it was in the 30s. We have somebody who's on the show in a little bit who maybe can give us an eyewitness account of what the weather was that day. But what I saw was in the 30s is all that was kind of posted. You mentioned SMU. I think we had a cold one up at UConn. I think that was the heater gate.
Oh, heater gate,
2014, right? When George allegedly turned off the heaters on the sideline. I think those are the three that come to mind. But back to that clip for a second, Trace. Two observations. One, hair is wasted on the young because Ethan Barr has a fantastic head of lettuce there. Yeah. And two, how do I get my hands on that shirt? I love that Lance logo, like new style shirt. So I need a shirt and I need Ethan Barr's hair. I'll settle for the shirt though.
Okay. Well, can I have the hair? you seem to have plenty.
Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, we're doing what we can. Up front here looks a little rough.
Another game that comes to mind is the Liberty Bowl against Mississippi State. That was a cold one. And all the cowbells. That was a mess. So Knights find themselves in a position backed against the wall here at 4-6. I asked on social media this week, does UCF become bowl eligible? Usually people yell at me for putting no before yes. I just go alphabetical order, but no, 2-1 on this one. What say you? I feel like if they get out of West Virginia, obviously, I feel good about the Black Friday game against Utah. And of course, if they don't, it won't matter at that point.
Yeah, look, at this point, it costs me nothing to be positive about this. So I might as well just say, heck yeah, we're going to win these two and go to a bowl game, even though I think it's going to be a dogfight in West Virginia right there. Obviously, a team that's reeling a little bit. Neil Brown, by all accounts, maybe coaching for his job. Maybe there's some stuff going on there, right? So you got to wonder what's happening at West Virginia. Obviously, the Knights coming off a tough loss at Arizona State. So I think it's going to be a tough battle. I don't think it's going to be a pushover. But cost me nothing to be positive in this one. And I know people are kind of mixed on the bowl game thing, right? My perspective has always been as follows. If I can get one more game of UCF football, it's probably better than whatever else I was going to do that day anyway, right? So on a random Wednesday afternoon at 3:30 to tune into the Cherry Bundy Boca Bowl, it's probably better than what I would have done normally. So if I can get one more game of UCF football, why not? I'm all in. Again, I'm not saying I'm going to travel and all that stuff, but one more game, let's at least enjoy some fun. And that means hopefully the season's ending on a high note, which I think we all would enjoy.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit more about the bye week, cold weather with Coach Lounsbury. Welcome back in, Coach.
Hey, thank you, Trace. How you doing, Adam?
Good, Coach.
Coach, we just were talking about timing for a bye week. If you could schedule, when would you want bye weeks as a coach?
Yeah, I think Adam's idea of splitting the season into thirds is a pretty good idea. But sometimes you like to have, if you're going to be in a playoff or a championship game, you'd like to have it a little more towards the end of the season, probably, just to give you that little breather as you go into that. So where we have them this year, I think is pretty advantageous.
Let's talk about this weather forecast. Yeah, maybe some snow, possibly. From your memory, what's the coldest game you remember UCF playing in?
When I was there, the coldest one we played in was Youngstown, and it was below freezing there. Um, the wind was blowing, and there was snow everywhere, and it was cold. But and there were big headlines before the game about how the Florida team would never be able to survive up there in the cold, and we went out and rushed for 130 yards in the first quarter of that game. So I felt pretty good about that game. We just didn't let it bother us, and all those warm-blooded Florida boys put a little extra thermals on and went and played.
Well, you just gave the recipe for Saturday, right? A lot of R.J. Harvey.
Absolutely, and I think you'll see that. I think you'll see him touch the ball a lot, whether it's receiving, whether it's running, or whether it's throwing. You never know with him. He's got the ability to do all. And I think you'll see a lot of that from him. It's going to be an interesting game and a great game. And I think our team is in a very good spot right now. I think we're going to finish out and become bowl eligible, and it's going to be a great win for us this Saturday, I think.
Coach, we're talking bye weeks. Take us behind the scenes. What happens in a bye week? What happens in a college football bye week? What's the team doing? What are they working on? Take us a little bit behind the scenes.
Well, normally the first week of the bye week, you get a couple of real good practices in, and then you also want to get a lot of the young guys work that don't normally get to put stuff on tape. You want to get that in at practice. Then you want the coaches to go out recruiting on Thursday and Friday, and so you try to time all of that up and give them the Friday off and get the recruiting in too. So basically you try to get a couple really good practices in, you try to get the young guys work, and you try to get the coaches out recruiting.
Coach Malzahn talks a lot about self-scouting. Is there much of that going on in the bye week? And if so, what does that mean? Like, when you think of self-scouting as a coach, what does that really entail?
Well, there is a lot of that going on, not just in the bye week, but throughout the season after the first 3 or 4 games at least. What self-scouting is basically is identifying your own tendencies offensively and defensively and seeing if that is becoming an issue and maybe trying to break those tendencies.
How does that work? Does the defensive staff watch the offense? Does the offense watch the defense, or does each coach watch their own position?
You each watch your own position, and you try to identify. Well, now with the computers, it's much easier to do. You just plug all the information into the computer and see where your tendencies are. So it's pretty straightforward, and it allows you to maybe use that on the next couple of games to break tendencies and maybe get an advantage.
Of course, Dylan Risk would like the pick 6 back at Arizona State, but he's been pretty confident, pretty steady so far. What areas would you like to see improvement from him in on a road game that's going to be in cold? We're not sure about the wind conditions. What are you looking for him to improve?
I just want him to keep confident like he has been, keep throwing the ball accurately like he has been, and just execute well. You know, that interception was not a good throw, whether it was his fault or the play call or whatever the case might have been. I'm not concerned about that. He just don't let it beat you on the next one. You know, don't let it become a problem for you thinking back on that. So I don't think it is. He's looked great the last 2 weeks at practice, and I'm really excited about what's happening there. And then, you know, EJ is now in a position where he can play without worrying about red shirts. So that helps too. You know, I think we've got, and then you've got Jakari still there too. That he's a threat in a lot of different ways too.
Let's talk about this. It's been a thread of conversation on social media. Lucky versus unlucky. Where are you on that? Do you believe in luck versus a lack of luck? And I reference back to this Arizona State game. Just if one of those terrible things doesn't happen, maybe they get out of there. You know, if the punt isn't blocked and returned, if the pick 6, if the return from Christian Peterson out of the end, just one of these things maybe doesn't happen. So where are you as a coach, a longtime football guy, on lucky versus unlucky?
Well, Herb Hand and I have had this discussion. We're neither one of us big believers in luck. It's more about preparation. However, that ball is not a round ball completely. It bounces funny ways, and there is an element of luck involved, I think. And sometimes it's nothing more than timing too. But yeah, you can look at any game and figure out 4 or 5 or 6 plays that if they go differently, you win the game. And the Arizona State game is one that's just obvious. There's 4 plays right there that if any one of those goes the other way, we should win the game. But, if-ofs and would-ofs and could-ofs don't really count. What I've seen and what I really like is our football team has gotten better, both offensively and defensively throughout the season. We're better than we were last year defensively stopping the run. Now, West Virginia is going to challenge that because they're very good running the ball. But we're a better team stopping the run, and I think you can point to every statistic and see that. So we're a better team now with Dylan in there throwing the football, which opens up our running game some more too. So I'm excited about where we are, and I think we're getting better on both sides of the ball. And to be honest with you guys, I try to take a look at the big picture too. Here we are at UCF, the youngest football program in Power 4. Just, in our second year in the Big 12, not even on a full share yet financially, in a just tumultuous landscape of college football with the NIL and the portal. And it's going to get worse before it gets better because next year, I think they're going to try to have the $20 million NIL as part of each university. But that's going to create lawsuits, got Title IX issues. There's going to be things going on for several years yet in this, and it's going to have to be a lot of adjustments still. So in that respect, I'm glad that we have an athletic director in Terry Mohajir that is kind of outside the box sometimes thinking, and I'm glad we got an experienced head football coach that is, I think, done a great job in traversing these tough times.
We talked earlier about R.J. Harvey. It makes me think that ball security, right? Just a fundamental of football. You don't want to turn the ball over. If I'm not mistaken, West Virginia, when they win that turnover battle, they win the game. And when they don't, they lose the game. So pretty clear, right, what
That's
to expect.
exactly
But
right.
That's a key right there for UCF is to,
Always,
we're not sure what the weather's going to be, but running, passing, hold on to the ball.
Turnovers are always a huge key, and we're -4 still in the turnover ratio for the year. And we've got to make sure that we don't add to that in a negative way. So we haven't gotten a lot of turnovers. We haven't been terrible about the number of turnovers we've given up, but it's still not where we need to be. So, yeah, that's a big emphasis, and that is a big time change in the ball game when you turn the ball over.
You mentioned Coach Hanna. I'm curious. Obviously, a lot was made of the decision for Gus Malzahn to give up play calling and Tim Harris not calling plays. How does that impact the rest of the staff? How does that impact Darren Hinshaw? And how does it impact Herb Hand? And how does it impact the other guys when a decision like that is made?
Well, I will tell you that the game plan is still done relatively the same way with Coach Malzahn and all the offensive coaches putting it together. It's a lot based on tendencies that we see on the defensive side. There's a lot of it's all based on field position and down and distance. You'll have if you anticipate 4 fourth down plays, you'll have 4 at least fourth down plays on your play sheet, and it's all based on that. So as far as the game planning goes, I don't think it has affected much at all. I really can't speak to any more about the play calling. I think Tim's done a great job. I don't know how much variation or really difference there is. I just think we found a quarterback that can throw it and complete it a little bit, and that's what's opened up the plays.
Well, and when he does that, Coach, he's been throwing a lot to Jacoby Jones, who's had a real good run of games here. A, I would have loved to have seen him sooner, but B, what makes Jacoby and Dylan's connection so good right now?
Well, Jacoby's a big target. That's one thing. He's a big, wide guy, and he's done a really nice job. I think Dylan is not necessarily looking for a particular guy. I think he's trying to go through the reads and find what he's supposed to be looking for, and that's what's the defense giving us. So I think you'll always have Kobe Hudson being a guy that when in doubt, he'll look to Kobe because Kobe's made a lot of big plays. So, but I don't think he's really focused on trying to hone in on any particular receiver. I think he's trying to take what the defense gives us and go through the reads like he's supposed to.
Games decided in the trenches through 10 games. How would you evaluate what you've seen from the offensive line first?
Well, from the offensive line, I've seen a lot of great things. I mean, we've got the number 3 rushing attack in the country. We've got the number 1 rushing attack in the Big 12. I don't know if you can ask for a better run game situation than that. I think we've done a good job in pass protection overall. I think sometimes the ball was held a long time, to result in a couple of sacks, and we've had some busts too. But overall, I'd give the offensive line an A. I really would.
And let's switch over to defensive line. They're going to be challenged on Saturday in Morgantown. A couple of running backs for West Virginia could cause them some problems.
No doubt. And I will tell you, I really think the defensive line deserves an A too, especially inside Lee Hunter and Ricky Barber. And Barber's been healthy, which is a great deal. Those guys and the guys that back them up have done a great job, in my opinion. In the Arizona State game, I think you saw them just dominate Arizona State's offensive line. And I think they've done a great job all year. And so I think both lines have improved a great deal. I think we're so much better there on both sides of the ball than we were last year. And you were right about West Virginia last year, showing us that we weren't ready at the line play. But we're better now on both sides. And I think Kansas State did that to us a little bit too last year. So I think we've improved in both of those areas. And I mean, that's why I believe in Gus and what he's done. I mean, he went out and addressed the issues that we had problems with last year, and he made improvements in those areas. Number 1 was stopping the run better, and number 2 was getting better line play. And he also went out and addressed the quarterback problem. The experiment with KJ didn't work out completely, although we were 3-0 to start the season. He had 2 more games where he tried to give him a chance, and then we had to go to EJ and Brown. But if Dylan would have been healthy back at that time, I think you'd have seen Dylan. Dylan got hurt preseason and did not recover enough to be cleared to play until after the Iowa State game. So that's why you didn't see Dylan. And I think that's why you're seeing him now. And fortunately, he's playing better.
Well, he has seized his moment. Coach, Thanksgiving next week. Let me ask this question. What's your favorite side dish?
Oh, I think there's a corn casserole that I really like that my both my ex-wives made. That was really good.
they made the same dish?
Yeah, I'm just going to leave it there, okay?
Are you home for the holiday or are you traveling?
No, I'm traveling. I'm actually going to miss the game with Utah. I've got to go to Orange Beach, Alabama. My youngest son lives up there and manages a restaurant up there, and he can't get off work, so we go up to him. So I'm looking forward to it, though, and my youngest daughter and her family will be there too, and so we'll have a bunch of grandkids up there, and if I get lucky, and my granddaughter who lives in Pensacola hasn't gone somewhere else, I may get to see my great granddaughter too. So I'm excited about going up there.
Family first, Coach. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family, and we are especially thankful for all your contributions to Sons.
Thank you, and I'm really thankful for you guys too, and go Knights.
All right, charge on, Coach. corn casserole.
I wouldn't have had that one. Yeah,
Can you clip that, by the way? Can we add that?
I'm not going to do that to coaches.
It's a good sound bite, though.
I had follow-ups, but I chose to not ask those.
Yeah.
Luckily, you did for all of us. But no, really appreciate Coach always coming on here, always available to us. And some info. I don't know that anyone really knew. I don't know that we knew Dylan Risk was not ready to play early on. There's been a lot of
not officially. Right. Yeah.
A lot of talk about why didn't we see him earlier. I mean, maybe that explains some of the thinking there.
Yeah. Well, the race in the Big 12 is heating up. UCF's game is at 3:30. Some pretty big ones head to head with the UCF game. So for you multi-TV and multi-device, you'll be able to watch that BYU Arizona State game. Let's go to Jeff Allen now with a look around the Big 12.
With BYU's loss to Kansas last week, they have dropped back into a first-place tie in conference with Colorado, who has won 4 in a row. So right now, they are in control of those top slots for the conference title game. The Cougars dropped 5 spots in the CFP rankings to number 14, and this week they square off with one of the 2 second-place teams as they visit number 21 Arizona State. That encounter will be a 3:30 kick Saturday on ESPN. Meanwhile, Colorado, which climbed to number 16, takes on Kansas. The Jayhawks will be trying for a second consecutive upset of a top team in conference. That will also be a 3:30 kickoff and televised by Fox. Number 22 Iowa State is the other team tied for second. They encounter a floundering Utah team at 7:30 on Fox. Elsewhere, Arizona battles TCU at 3 o'clock on ESPN+. Texas Tech visits Oklahoma State at 3:30 on ESPN+. Houston hosts Baylor 7 o'clock on FS1. Cincinnati battles Kansas State 8 o'clock on ESPN2. And our UCF Knights, after a bye week, make the long trek to what will be a very cold Morgantown, West Virginia, to take on the Mountaineers. You can't help but think the weather will be a factor, but maybe they can warm our hearts heading into Thanksgiving week. Airtime for that one will be at 3:30 on ESPNU. With your Big 12 Minutes, I'm Jeff Allen.
Do you usually bring up comments?
No, I couldn't resist that one. It wouldn't have been good without the context of Jeff being there. But here's how far we've sunk, Trace. Jeff is hoping that UCF warms our hearts. That's how far we've sunk as a program right now. Unbelievable.
Knight Walker leading the Big 12 pick'em with 61 points, 2 points ahead of Boston Matt as we get into the final stretch. I'm still 8 ahead of that artist formerly known as UCF Mike. What's his name now? Is he UCF Panther? What is he?
I don't think you do that. I had a terrible week. I think I'm like only 1 ahead of Mike at this point. So I need to get up on my horse here, or else I may get caught from behind. Don't clip that. My bad.
Clip that.
Pause.
You would
stop.
clip that if
Hard
I
stop.
said it.
No, hard stop. We're good.
That's also something you could. We're giving away another thing here, aren't we? We got a new newsletter debut because you said, "Hey, I don't have enough to do. Let me work on a newsletter project."
Not a lot going on. Yeah, no, we're going to try a newsletter out a little bit. Maybe some exclusive content, just kind of a recap of the things happening each week around here for the Sun. So go to that little website address that's right there on your screen, or find it on our social media feeds. Sign up for the newsletter. By Sunday, I'm going to pick a random person for the UCF Orlando version polo given to us by our good friend Brian David Peterson. So sign up for a newsletter. You never know what's going to be in there. I don't even know what's going to be in there, and I'm supposed to write the thing. So if that doesn't tell you to sign up, I don't know what would.
Hey, assign it to one of the interns. Want to welcome in Dwayne Jones, who had his first basketball report from the Knights win 80-69 against Tennessee Tech. You can find that on the Sun's YouTube channel. Andrew was also there. Andrew Gregg was also there. And Knights, Keyshawn Hall's 20 points. Debo Coleman with 14. Darius Johnson, though, kind of the story there, hitting the 1,000-point mark. Will we see a guy for years in a Knight uniform, right?
No. You might not see that in college basketball in a couple of years, getting to 1,000 points with one team. I don't know that you're going to see that at all. So that's a pretty cool moment for DJ.
Knights already in West Virginia. They begin in the Greenbrier tip-off against number 19 Wisconsin Friday at 5. Let's hear from head coach Johnny Dawkins on the challenge the Knights face with this lineup at the Greenbrier.
Oh, this would be a great test for us. Like you said, going to a neutral site, playing Wisconsin, an opponent that's very, very talented out of the Big Ten. So looking forward to it, But this is opportunities for our guys to grow, to get better. You're only going to get better through these experiences, and we're going to learn more about our team like we learned about our team tonight. We're always learning, and so we're going to learn about us in that type of environment, in that type of neutral setting now, and see where we are.
Mikey Williams out of the boot, but still listed as day-to-day, as is Jalen Sellers. Knights Friday, November 22, a 5 o'clock tip against Wisconsin. And then Sunday, they play either LSU or Pittsburgh. Back home Wednesday, pre-Thanksgiving game against Milwaukee. And also want to point out on the Sons of UCF website, Dolly Drama with a good column, the winding pass of UCF football and men's basketball. He contrasts what's going on with Coach Malzahn and Coach Dawkins. Another good read from our friend Dolly.
Yeah, check it out. sonsofUCF.com is where you can find that. Dolly, always with a good thought piece. And this was a good one, weaving in the juxtaposition of both of our teams being in West Virginia this weekend.
Well, the battle for bowl eligibility will continue on Saturday in Morgantown. Let's welcome in now Brandon Phoenix of the Raspy Voice Kids that covers West Virginia sports on the 1012 network. Brandon, welcome back.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. You guys are so professional. I'm always in awe of what you guys do and how you guys do it. I love the passion. I love the excitement for night football, for night sports in general, especially when you're not having a great season like we're not having a great season. It's really fun to see. So thanks for having me on.
We're going to get into the X's and O's, but we need to hear from the Doppler guy here, the AccuWeather forecast. What's the weather situation going to be like for this one? Us Florida guys are planning to bundle up for this one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to be that cold, to be honest. I think you're going to get
Says
some
you.
weather. It's all relative, right? It's all relative. It's going to be in the 40s. That's not a bad day in Morgantown in November. I went to a Pitt game in November, I believe, WVU Pitt, where it was negative degrees. It was the first time I ever wore camo, the only time I ever wore camo, but it was well worth it because it kept me warm. It kept me out of the hospital. No hypothermia for your boy. I think you guys are going to be okay. And I tweeted about this earlier today, and I wasn't even thinking about our game, that I don't think the cold's going to affect Southern teams the way that people think it will. I think the Knights will be fine. I don't think it'll be an issue. With all of the technology they have now, I think it'll be all right.
Well, that is good to hear. A brownout for this one. What is that, in support of your head coach? Is that what that is?
You guys catch everything, don't you? You guys see everything. A brownout. Yeah, there were people talking about having a brownout to show that they are not happy with Coach Neil Brown, which the Raspy Voice Kids have been on this over Neil Brown since Pitt game 2022. We've been over him. We've been
over Neil Brown. Wait, this is 24. This has been a while.
Yeah, we've been out on Neil Brown for a while. I knew he wasn't the guy after that Pitt game. My brother was at that game in Pittsburgh at Acrisure Stadium. We were certain he was not the guy. And this is just, last year just delayed the inevitable, in our opinion. That said, there are people who it was after the Iowa State game, which is crazy to me because Iowa State was ranked in the top 12 at the time. They were a good football team. They were undefeated. Matt Campbell had them doing their thing, looking like they might get a 10-win season finally. And everybody turned on Neil Brown. And it just surprised me that was the game that did it. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. And I think it had to do with that game was supposed to be supporting the coal miners. They had the coal rush uniforms, the all black, and they couldn't get it done. The brownout's not going to happen for a lot of reasons. You can't get people to wear gold when it's a gold rush theme. You can't get people to wear all blue when it's true blue. And now you're going to get people to wear brown to a Mountaineer game. It's not going to happen. It's a crazy concept. I understand the thought process. It's just not going to happen. Plus, it's senior day, and there are a lot of people who want to show their respect and show their appreciation and gratitude for the seniors, for the blood, sweat, and tears they put in, and I respect that too. So the brownout's not going to happen. You might have a few people who do it, but certainly nothing noticeable, not on television anyway.
The straight up now, Neil Brown for Gus Malzahn. Do you take it?
Yes.
Ooh, wow. A little pause though.
Yeah, because I don't want it, but I would take it because we've got to try something different. We know Neil doesn't work in Morgantown. Maybe Gus does. I don't know.
Well, Brian, I guess that brings me to my hard-hitting question. Which Neil do you prefer? Do you want goatee Neil, or no goatee Neil? What's the better Neil here?
The Neil that no longer lives in Morgantown. Whichever one that one is, that's the one I prefer.
That feels like goatee Neil, where he's just letting it all go because he's out of a job and doesn't know what to do. But let's talk on the field for a second. Garrett Green, obviously, was supposed to have a pretty good season. Still putting up decent numbers, more interceptions than he had last year. I know he's been injured a lot. What's happened with Garrett Green this season? Where has he maybe regressed a little bit from what you've seen?
He's indecisive. He makes poor decisions. He turns the ball over. People have tried to say that the upper body injury that they've listed has been concussions. I don't know what it is for sure. What I do know, though, is that every quarterback under Neil Brown has regressed in their senior season. None of them have reached their potential. None of them have reached what seemed to be what everyone anticipated when it came time to shine. They all regressed. That's Daggy. That's Garrett Green in this case. That's JT Daniels before him, a former 5-star quarterback who did well at all the stops prior to Neil Brown. They all regress under Neil Brown. And I don't know why or how. I don't know what it is about the way they coach. I do know that for a lot of people, we felt like Neil Brown has tried to make Garrett Green more of a pocket passer as opposed to what he really is. And that's the guy who likes to get on the ground and go. Throwing the ball is not always the first option. He tried to make him into a prototypical quarterback, and that's not what's worked for Garrett Green. That's not what's worked at West Virginia, and that's not what's worked this season. Nothing has worked this season. Like you mentioned, last year, one of the main things was the fact that Garrett Green took care of the football. He did not turn it over. He was not careless. That has not been the case this season, and it's really been bad. It's really been frustrating, and it really hurts when you think about the guy that Garrett Green's been. He's been everything you want in a college football player, especially a Mountaineer, on and off off the field and in the locker room. It just hasn't translated onto the playing field.
Brandon, I still have vivid memories of sweating my ass off in Orlando last year, watching CJ Donaldson and Jaheim White just slice up the UCF defense for yard after yard. Obviously, they're both having decent seasons this year, both over 500 yards, but evaluate kind of their play versus what they were last year.
Again, Jaheim White's been almost in a sophomore slump, it feels like. We expected really big things from them. I thought they would be one of the best running back tandems in the nation. They haven't been. They've been solid, but not dynamic. And they haven't really made other teams pay for the most part, and not seriously. The offense in general has been pathetic. And Neil Brown has called it that himself. He said it's just not been good enough. And Jaheim White and TJ Donaldson are part of that. You see flashes. They have moments. But they really have not done what we expected them to do this year, which nobody has. And I don't know what to attribute that to because the offensive line, for the most part, has been pretty good. So it's hard to say who you're going to see show up, but at any moment, those guys can break out. They're both very capable.
Last game, Baylor 49, West Virginia 35. What happened? I set you up with an easy one.
It's an easy
Neil Brown's
one.
the answer, no?
We did not capitalize when it was time to capitalize. Neil Brown pointed out the fact that they big boyed us on the outside. They really did. Their team speed really hurt us. There were lapses in the secondary like there have been all season. Whether it's, they fired Jordan Leslie. Jordan Leslie is not, he wasn't a good defensive coordinator. He was not what you wanted in a defensive coordinator, but Coons hasn't proven himself, and he hasn't done much better except for in one game, and that was against an inept Cincinnati. And Baylor just took advantage of those things. They took advantage of our miscues. They took advantage of our lack of communication. There was a moment where TJ Jackson showed his frustration after getting close to the quarterback, creating pressure on the quarterback, and then having two defensive backs beat deep for a touchdown. They just are a better football team. And Jake Spavital, I'll say this about Jake Spavital, the OC for Baylor. He was the offensive coordinator for West Virginia. He took a lot of heat when he was putting up nearly 50 points a game in Morgantown through stretches. And he wasn't always great end of game. He wasn't always great third quarter. But when you're putting up the kinds of points Jake Spavital was putting up in Morgantown, he's not the problem. It was the defense. I like that he got a little bit of redemption because I like Jake Spavital. He's a friend of the Raspy Boys kids. He's been on the show. And he really gave it to us, man. They could have scored more than 49, and we didn't score 35 until late in that game. It wasn't as close as the score says. They're just better than us. And it wasn't, Neil Brown likes to say we got to pay attention to detail. We've got to take accountability. No, you got to be better. You got to be a better coach, X's and O's, and you got to have better Jimmies and Joes. And right now we don't have it, and Baylor took advantage.
So what do you think of that matchup of facing running back R.J. Harvey of the Knights? How do you feel about that?
R.J. Harvey and the Knights, number 6 in the nation for yards per carry, number 6 for yards per game rushing. And I'm getting those stats right?
Yep.
That's trouble for anybody wearing the old gold and blue. That's trouble. Our defense has not been terrible against the run for the most part. Not terrible, but overall the defense has not been good. In the hundreds amongst many categories, no matter how you look at it, we're in the hundreds ranking as far as team defenses go. R.J. Harvey's going to have a day. I really believe that. We're going to have to sell out to stop him and then force you to beat us with your arm. And I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but if I was a betting man, I'd say RJ Harvey's going to get his.
Brandon, what are you expecting for the crowd? I saw on social media there were some reasonably priced tickets still available for the game on Saturday. What do you expect out of the crowd?
I saw lower level tickets going for $4 and $5. Now, that's you can't get into my son's Friday night football games for $4 and $5.
That's fair.
And here we are in Morgantown selling tickets for that. And I see somebody asked the question about tailgates in Morgantown, and the people I know that tailgate aren't tailgating. The blue lot is usually hot and popping, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of people there, but it won't be what you typically would experience for, multiple reasons. One of those reasons is because students won't be there because of the break. But the other reason is because we're 5-5. And Neil Brown said today, he's like, we're 5-5. We're not 0-10. You're right, Neil. But it feels like 0-10 when we thought we were going to be competing for a conference title, when we thought we had a chance to get into the playoff, when you sold us that Garrett Green was underrated and should have been in the top 100 players in the country, and that Wyatt Milan was being disrespected. Now, Milan's been very good, but Garrett Green has not, and the Mountaineers have not. So you're not going to get the raucous fun that you typically would have, but you will meet with lots of love and hospitality, regardless of the fact that you're wearing night colors.
All right, so it sounds like maybe there's a chance Neil Brown's not there next year. If that's the case, Brandon, give me the prototype for who you want as the next West Virginia head coach.
The thing that works in Morgantown is the thing that works anywhere where you're at a tremendous disadvantage geographically, monetarily, and so many other areas, you've got to be different. You've got to be ahead of the curve. So you look at Rich Rodriguez. He was doing things with the spread on the ground that other people just had not even seen. Coaching clinics for the nation, teaching people how to do what he did. Dana Holgerson, same sort of thing. Innovative mind offensively. Doing things with the spread, doing things that other teams didn't do or couldn't do as well as he did. You need a guy who's that kind of mindset. And you also need a blue-collar guy because that's what these people expect. That's what we expect as West Virginians. We want tough people. We want gritty people. We want people who go after it, who get after it. So we got to have a coach who's not only innovative, but who's also tough and who gets us. He doesn't have to be a West Virginian. He does not have to be a West Virginian. In fact, Neil Brown checks all of the boxes except for the winning part. He's everything that we would hope for in a coach. He gets our passion. He gets our history. He gets our tradition. The only thing that he got wrong off the field, in my opinion, was when he says to Pat Narduzzi before the 2022 backyard brawl, there's a lot of excitement for one game. He said that to him about the backyard brawl. There's a lot of excitement for one game. And I thought in that moment, he doesn't get it. He doesn't get what this is. And then,
see, I disagree with you. He asked a couple of weeks ago, were you not entertained? Did you not have a good overall day?
Yeah.
Come on. He's invested in game day experience. Don't take that away from him.
We are not entertained. You know what entertains me more than anything else? Winning.
Fair.
Give me the
Dolly asked a moment ago, what about Barry Odom? Is there some excitement for the name Barry Odom in Morgantown?
Barry Odom was not very successful at Missouri. Barry Odom has not proven he can win at the P4 level. Barry Odom is a guy who's got UNLV ranked, and that's exciting. But I'm going to lean on a guy named Kuz. You guys might know him, Kuz's Corner. He's a guy who talks a lot about West Virginia, knows a lot about West Virginia, and he's more excited about the staff that would come with Barry Odom than Barry Odom himself. And like I said, I don't know a whole lot about Barry Odom. I just know whoever shows up has got to win. They've got to win fast because in this day and age, it does not take 6 years to build a winning program. Go ask Kurt Signetti.
All right, what's to do in Morgantown? What's the breakfast spot? What's the bar to go to? What's the deal with pepperoni rolls? Give us the scoop.
Oh, man, you got to get to Tudor's Biscuit World if you have any chance of getting to Tudor's Biscuit World. It's not only in West Virginia, but it started in West Virginia. It's proliferated in West Virginia. Great biscuits, great breakfast sandwiches. I believe my guy Jeff Ruff loves the Mary B. My brother Jeremy loves I think it's the Thundering Herd that he likes to eat. I, of course, get the Mountaineer, but you got to do what you got to do when you get to Morgantown. That's get to Tudor's Biscuit World. I love the pizza place. If you get a chance, go to the pizza place. They started in Parkersburg, West Virginia, where we are from. They are now in Morgantown as well. They are the best pizza that you will have in the state of West Virginia. Hands down, bar none. And then there's a million bars you can go to. There's almost no place where you're not going to have a good time. And people, like I said, will accept you. They'll take care of you. It's a good time in Morgantown. You'll enjoy it for sure. Pepperoni rolls, the pizza place has pepperoni rolls, and they have some of my favorite. They also have garlic rolls, which we're not talking about, but I like garlic rolls almost as much as I like pepperoni rolls. Don't tell anybody I said that, but that's the truth. But the pepperoni rolls at the pizza place, tops, bar none. So check them out. And they also are sick of Neil Brown over at the pizza place. So they're my kin. But yeah, you got to check them out if you get a chance. And just let people take care of you. Let people take care of you. Show up, have fun, tell them who you are, tell them you love the Raspy Voice Kids, and people will show love to you too. I promise you that.
I got to agree with the comment I saw earlier. We should play West Virginia every week just so we can have you on the show every week. Brandon, welcome back to Sons of UCF Live. Enjoy that brownout, unofficial brownout on Saturday, and just enjoy your experience. Have a good day. Tailgate. Take it all in.
That's right. I appreciate you guys saying that. I love being on the show with you guys. Thank you for inviting me, and thanks for reminding me. I appreciate that.
We got you, Brandon. Right. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Thanks, Brandon. I agree with the comment. Have him on every week. That's good stuff right there.
Yeah, I thought we were mad. I thought we were.
Hey, but he's trading Neil Brown straight up.
I thought we were displeased with our coaching situation. Oh, my goodness.
When he went on that, the expectations were there. I thought he's describing.
It's a lot. It's a lot of carbon copy. It really was interesting to kind of hear and basically kind of say the same things that we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks around here as well too. So, last man standing game. I don't know, Trace. I don't know how to think about this one on Saturday.
I believe they're on the road. Hey, they're not doing well at home.
They're at Texas Tech. They're at Texas Tech.
So that's a tough one. This may be their chance.
To get they're the Fighting Trace Trailco's right after that. So.
Yeah. That JP Gilbert agenda, there's some traction there in parts, but it's the Brian W. Peterson agenda of gold that is really taking hold. Let's go to Christian Simmons from the Pegasus podcast with a look at the uniform unveil for this week's game in Morgantown.
Well, first off, right off the bat, apologies for the this is not my usual studio. This is me in a car on my phone because I was not going to be home in time to talk about this uniform combo. But how can we not talk about, how can we skip a week when UCF is wearing gold face masks for the first time in program history? They've literally never done this before. This is just so incredible, so cool to see. I mean, obviously UCF's stepped up the face mask game a ton in recent years we've had, we got the white face mask earlier last season and on the black helmet this year. It's just been so cool to see them play around with that. This combo's awesome. Black helmets, white jerseys, black pants with that gold face mask. I love that we're getting this in a season where earlier on this year, it feels so foreign to look back on when fans were just so angry about UCF has abandoned gold. They only care about black and white. And all that time they were sitting on a gold face mask. I mean, this looks incredible. And I'm excited for this look. I'm excited to see this on the field for the first time ever. And I'm also just excited for all the possibilities that exist from now on and into the future of what UCF is going to be able to do with this combo. So excited. Cannot wait to see this on the field. Great look.
I do advise not sitting on the gold face mask. That might be, uncomfortable.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't do that either. I wouldn't do that.
Christian, a part of the Pegasus podcast with Bailey Adams, and now a part of the 17th new show on the Sons of UCF network of shows, because you have untreated, I don't know, attention deficit issues because between the newsletter, a new show this week, you stay busy.
Always trying to find new ways to be creative, Trace. That's the fun part about getting to do what we do, is new creative ideas. And I think the fun thing for us is there's so many people that we interact with. And so I think about this, right? Every Saturday, I'm not with you, but I hear the stories of you and Matt Michelle and Christian Simmons and Chris Boyle in the press box, Andrew Cherico just cutting it up and having a good time and talking about all kinds of various topics. And that got us to thinking, what if we kind of did something like that with some folks who are adjacent to UCF coverage, right? If that's former players, podcast, newspaper people, maybe somebody in the Big 12 at some point in time, who knows? But we have so many cool people that we interact with. And so it only made sense to try something new. So a new monthly show, we're going to try this monthly for right now, moderated and hosted by our good friend Jeff Allen, who you saw earlier, where we're going to bring together a couple of different voices adjacent to UCF, just talk about a wide variety of topics. Surprisingly, we're calling it To Your Point. And the debut episode is available now on YouTube and wherever you get your audio. And here's a teaser clip for those who haven't seen it yet.
The number of Power 5 jobs or Power 4 jobs might not be as high with a few that we kind of expected to be open, not likely to come open. And so it does give you sort of that pick of the bunch type of deal. But again, do you have the money to foot that? Is that going to be a realistic option to just go out there and say, just because UCF's the best fit on the market, that they can actually go out and go get the best possible candidate? Or are there going to be restrictions and limitations in place to that?
I enjoyed Ben Hazel, known for basketball and his great analysis here on Sons of UCF Live, weighing in on football and being very measured and reasonable in his responses. I messaged him and I said, "Hey, good job on the debut show."
Ben knows this stuff, and the highlight of the show, it ends with each panelist gets like a minute or two to rant on whatever they want to. Surprisingly enough, Christian Simmons selected uniforms, but Ben Hazel took the approach of patience as we continue to grow and build into the Big 12. So again, on our YouTube channel, also wherever you get your audio podcast, called To Your Point. Do it monthly. We'll see how it goes. So if you are so inclined, we'd love for you to check it out. Give us some feedback. Tell us what you like, what you don't like, and we'll work on show number 2 here in the next couple of weeks.
Very good. Good to watch. All right, let's check in on some news and notes.
Dylan, Debo Coleman, let's go around the kingdom.
Have you prepared your
I had to use my guy, Debo. Well,
to...
listen, one game. It was one game. All right. Long season.
Remind folks what you said a week ago.
Well, I had a couple of one-liners here. I said that Debo Coleman shoots like a guy named Debo. And then I called Debo Coleman the 2024 award winner for the DeMar Langford Award, who obviously was a player on UCF's team last year who got a lot of cardio in, but outside of that, not so much. But he had a good game against Tennessee Tech. I'm waiting. I'm hoping, he'll have another braggart game. He wears the long sleeves, though, under the jersey.
You're not a fan.
I don't understand that look. I don't get it.
Speaking of looks, they're playing in a hotel ballroom, so that'll be interesting for their games at the Greenbrier. Volleyball, 11-match losing streak snapped on Wednesday. They defeat Kansas State 3-2. Senior night for UCF volleyball, now 2-13 in the Big 12, 9-15 overall. Kudos to seniors Alexia Kuhl, Emily Wilson, Caitlin Grimes, Heidi Bondi, and Chloe Shear. Congratulations to them. Up next, Saturday at number 21, Florida. They go non-conference for that one at 4:30 in Gainesville. Women's basketball, just like the men, off to a 4-0 start. Their past week, they defeated Stetson. They defeated North Florida. Do you know what SIUE?
You know what? You wrote it on the rundown, and I was like, what the hell is SUI?
Did you look it up?
I did not know.
Southern Illinois.
What's the other letters?
I didn't look up the E. That's Friday. At 7 o'clock. Florida A&M. This is usually when you're behind the scenes on Around the Kingdom where you start looking things up.
No, not so much.
Or somebody may be in the chat. There seems to be a big discussion about Iowa between Matt Dolan.
I'm seeing that. Yes,
Warner.
I saw a Tim Dwight reference in there, which kudos.
And then they got Florida A&M on Sunday at 1 o'clock. Congratulations to RJ Harvey, who has a chance to burnish his credentials for a Doak Walker Award. He's a semifinalist, nation's best running back. One of the other shows that many of you tune into and watch every week is Around the Kingdom with Eric Lopez and I. And here's a clip from this week's show.
Whatever. Some of the questions I heard in media availability, like, hey, how did the players handle the bye week? Versus suppose what are we expecting these players to be doing? Like, no, they handled it terrible.
What a terrible. Who would ask?
I mean, what are we doing?
I think that was my question, Elon.
No, you weren't alone in exclusive. There was multiple people asking.
What about the weather questions? Those are hard hitting. It could snow.
Well, in fairness, I mean, I'm curious how they would handle the weather.
So some things interest you.
That's actually important. Like, what is it?
Nice of you to be watching on ESPN Plus and not in the arena. Yeah, I'm going to be paying a lot of attention to this upcoming softball season when he asks the softball questions, when he asks some lighthearted questions.
Again, you may be thinking, wait, I watched Around the Kingdom. I didn't see that. You're correct. That is on the exclusive audio-only version of Around the Kingdom Overtime. So if you subscribe to our podcast feed, you already heard that. If you did not, shame on you. There's plenty of time left, but
that's a subtle way of plugging two things.
It wasn't that Listen, I think Dolly earlier called me the new Mark Burnett. So yes, I've got a lot of things to plug around here. But if you don't listen to Run the Kingdom Overtime, you're missing out. Here's the problem I have with that show, Trace. Sometimes I forget if I said it on that show, if I just said it in general, because we literally just start talking and then no one really knows where it's going. And sometimes I never remember if I said it while we were recording or not recording. And then I'd like have to like think about, do I have to take that back? Like, I didn't know if I called Debo Coleman, DeMar Langford on the show or not. I wasn't sure if
I just know I heard it in
and
some
so
venue.
I don't know, but I apologize in advance to the Coleman family, but check out Around the Kingdom Overtime.
Yeah. The Ryan Seacrest of the Suns family is Brian W. Peterson, because he's on so many shows every week, and it is now time for the mailbag.
So it's a mailbag. So what?
So what? Do you know whose mailbag that is?
It's that time again. Time to open the Brian W. Peterson Sons of UCF mailbag.
I see in the comments, Nightmarish J with an answer there, Edwardsville. That is the correct
What's
answer
their mascot? Do we know?
E. Nightmarish, could you look up the mascot while you're at it? Nightfan94, Blue Sky or Twitter? That is an interesting topic over the last week. Sons, myself as well, have opened up accounts on Blue Sky. Your thoughts?
Yeah, here's my thought. If people are somewhere talking UCF sports, like I want to be involved. So if people are talking UCF sports and they want to have dialogue and conversation, I'm all in. There's obviously less users on Blue Sky, so I think it's a little easier to have
I'll tell you what, they have
conversation.
had a heck of a week. I think they picked up 20 million people this week, right?
Easier to have conversation back and forth, right, with people on Blue Sky than it is on Twitter right now. But if people are talking UCF, the Suns want to be there. So you'll find it. We're on Threads still, I think. I think.
Are you posting on Threads? How's that work?
I tried for a while. It hasn't taken
It's
off.
not as easy as Blue Sky, the Threads.
No, we're on TikTok still, I believe. I think we have a Twitch
What happened
account.
to Clay Pasco doing TikToks?
Well, listen, you want to take that up with the internship coordinators around here. I don't like you're in charge of the intern.
Whoa,
Yeah.
I'm on the ground with certain interns, not the behind the scenes.
Get off the ground, Trace, and figure out where the hell Clay's been.
Well, let's go to Blue Sky. I posted the mailbag question.
Oh, we're doing this now.
There, Mario, Lonely Bee UCF, and then the handle here is .bsky.social, but we're not going to say all of that. Is Gus trying to cover up that he accidentally left Penny Boone in Fort Worth and can't find him? Andrew Cherico asking about the status of one Penny Boone. Now, in fairness, people would lose their minds if RJ Harvey didn't get all the touches, right? And so I think we bought in a little bit to the depth. That didn't mean we were going to see 4 running backs every game doing a lot. But I am a little surprised we haven't seen more Penny Boone.
Yeah, I mean, I think, listen, we thought we had 2, 1,300-yard running backs in our backfield, and it's just going to be, 1-2 punch all day long. And then, we haven't seen a ton, if any, of Penny Boone. Gus said in that same answer that he's been playing special teams, so he's not injured. Sounds like he's available. So this is going to be one of those mysteries in a few years where you tune into the Suns UCF. We have an interview with Penny Boone and figure out what happened this season, because he was at Toledo, spent the spring at Louisville, then left Louisville to come to UCF. There's a lot to unpack there, but if he can help us on the ground, that'd be great. You had a great line on one of the shows this week, which was, we had 4 running backs.
Or maybe I just said it to you.
Johnny Richardson fumbled and Ja'Cory Brown got benched, right? Or EJ Colson got benched, whoever it was. And so you'd think we'd find a way to use the running backs, but.
Yeah. UC Fleet on Blue Sky. I know everyone has mixed feelings on playing in a bowl game, but how much money can UCF expect to make from playing in one? It probably cost him more money. Terry Modger has wanted to play in local bowls. They got to get past West Virginia first, but one bowl projection out there has UCF in South Florida and the Gasparilla Bowl. Hey, get ready for that one, everybody.
I'm going to go.
Yeah. Or Boca, right? I mean, what else is there? They're not going to be in the Pop-Tart Bowl at 6-6. Spursy night on Blue Sky. Wouldn't beating West Virginia on the road in the cold and then losing to Utah at home be the most UCF thing that could ever happen? Oh, you are so right. That is a total UCF thing.
Yep.
NJ 813. Who's more to blame for UCF football's current disposition, Terry or Gus? I don't blame Terry for the issues the football team has had. Now, what happens, maybe into the future and hiring decisions. I mean, there are things that you can evaluate for Terry Modger, but, things have happened this season that did not live up to expectations, and that's on Gus Malzahn.
As any good leader or manager would do at their workplace, if you hire somebody, hopefully you give them the autonomy and you don't sort of, micromanage what they work on, right? So, and to your point, another to your point reference there, Gus is the one making those day in, day out decisions, right? Terry obviously made the hire of Gus, but you trust the people that you hire to do the right things and to be successful, and sometimes they're not. And obviously you got to figure out what happened from there. So I guess Well, certainly Terry made the hire, and you can always do the 6 degrees of whatever back to that. Obviously, I think Gus is calling the day-to-day shots.
At @blackgold_Ed back on Twitter, is Timo crazy sending out a letter asking for NIL support when the football program is in a multi-year low of enthusiasm? They can't not.
Yeah.
They can't not ask for money. UCF making some headlines across the country, believed to be the first program to announce it's going to fold its NIL in once everything gets settled legally and such. So how can he not ask for money? He did hold the line on ticket price increases. That may have been a bridge too far for a lot of fans. Rejoice Knights on Twitter, if UCF's men's basketball continues winning streak, when would you might expect to see him in the top 25? I think if you get a split this weekend, you could see him into the top 25.
You got to beat Wisconsin.
Pittsburgh on Sunday. Yeah. I mean, great if they go 2-0, but split you take, and you hate to come back 0-2, but these are important games in building that resume and how they're going to play in the Big 12.
Well, I think you take the split, but you really would love the Wisconsin win, right? Because they're obviously ranked 19th right now. I think that would be a big help. They're receiving votes. John Rothstein has them as a dark horse in the Big 12. I don't know if I'm ready for that just yet, but you'd think if they can beat a 19th ranked Wisconsin with the momentum they have so far, you'd think that could get them, to your point, even if they lose the second game, into an opportunity for a ranking.
Riley Carey 16 along these same lines. Do you think men's basketball should be ranked right now or too early? Still too early.
Too early.
They got to prove themselves. They've taken care of business. Texas A&M game was important for the resume. Mr. Matt Dolan, who's frequenting the chat room, hypothetical question here. Gus is retired. Scott Frost, Urban Meyer are the only 2 coaches available. Neil Brown may be available. Why he wasn't thrown into that. Who's your pick? Well, I just could never get behind Urban Meyer. So I don't think it works to bring Scott Frost back. I'm not in that camp. But if those are the 2 choices and Neil Brown is unavailable, then Scott Frost.
It's a great question. So part of me, you look at what Urban obviously accomplished at Florida and at Ohio State, winning national championships, right? Which is a big thing. But that was way before NIL. That was way before some of the new challenges of college athletics. And I just don't know that I would think Urban would be ready for something like that. I think he very much wants to be the dictator in the room. I say jump, you say how high. And I don't know that style is going to play in this day and age. So I guess by that, I'm not wearing a jacket. Actually, it's a hoodie. By that measure, I go Scott Frost.
Coaches show moving over to the night library on whatever night all the college kids are hanging out.
Wow,
what happened with Urban Meyer. Too soon?
I mean, not for me, it's not. But wow, you're respected news.
All right, 1 minute. We're going to do this next segment in 1 minute or less. Hey, Adam, what's in the box?
In the box, brought to you by Charlie Russell.
We're getting out of this.
I'm not TN1215.
I'm not stumbling here. By the way, I looked it up. The last movie I saw was The Fall Guy in a theater around the 4th of July.
All right, this week's question.
And I'm going to track the movies I watch from January 1 through December 31st. I'm going to keep note of how many movies, video, streaming.
And that was so last week, Trace. Let's get back to this week. Here's this week's question.
This is going to be, I'm going to start the timer. We're not spending
you're interrupting me. I mean, you're taking precious time here by continuing to tell me you're setting a timer instead of actually setting the timer. The question is as follows.
Figure out where the timer is.
How many people in your life know your ATM code?
None.
Just you.
Yeah.
So if you are unable to remember,
it's a Bosco moment.
If you're unable to remember your ATM code, nothing's happening. Nobody else.
I got a lot of problems if I can't remember the ATM code.
Well, I'm not saying you don't. Is it written down anywhere? Is there like a little magic book where you have all the stuff at?
No, that is something though that I do need to do is do a better job of tracking passwords and things. But no.
What's the last time
this is a follow-up question.
Yes, it is.
Now.
When's the last time you actually went to an ATM? When's the last time you actually went to an ATM and withdrew cash?
Man, it's been a while.
Yeah.
More recently than the last movie I saw in a theater, but not recently.
Yeah, I can't even think of the last time I'd have done that.
Yeah, I haven't needed to. So.
Okay.
Don't use a lot of cash. There's that. And then this is where I just start to spin stories. So Buddy and I, we have season tickets for Orlando City. He never uses credit cards, always pays in cash. So I had that money. That money was just in a drawer. And when I need money, I just pull out of that money. So I didn't deposit that money. I got that season ticket money and I use that money.
Is there a time in our near future, Trace, in the next 10 years where cash doesn't exist anymore? Where nobody has cash?
I think it'll exist. But its prevalence is rapidly declining in use.
Okay.
We're all going to be on crypto. I don't even understand it.
I think to answer the question, I know my wife knows my ATM code. I don't know if I think maybe my
you know
oldest,
hers?
It's a shared account, so yes.
Okay.
Although yes, she has a so yes, she actually has another account. So yes, I know all of those. I think my
about the other account she has?
I do. I believe my daughter may know our ATM code as well.
Gotcha. All right, a little programming. So next week's awkward for us, right? So Thanksgiving is on Thursday. We're not going to do a live show on Thursday. Might have done it on Wednesday, but men's basketball is home on Wednesday, and I'll be there. Andrew Jericho,
I don't want to go head to head.
Thousands will be there.
Watch the game, everybody. Don't watch us. Watch the game. Root on the Knights. Hopefully, at that point, we'll be 6-0 heading into that contest. So watch the Knights. Don't watch us. Enjoy your holiday week. There's enough shows of us to catch up to. So no live next week.
We'll have Around the Kingdom. Pegasus guys are pretty good about putting out content. I think they've only missed 1 or 2 weeks in the history of their show. Maybe a Suns today. Hey, was there Suns today this week?
There was no Suns today this week. No, they did not make the rundown this week. I'm working on something. I always am, by the way, but I'm working on something for a Suns today this week. So for maybe next week. So stand by.
When does the newsletter make its debut? Or and the cutoff for the shirts is the shirt drawing?
Yeah, I'm going to draw it Sunday morning, and I think you can expect that newsletter in your inbox sometime early Sunday, sort of mid-Sunday afternoon. So that's the goal as soon as I sit down and actually write it all out.
Is there going to be any sort of jumble in there, or Wordle, or any sort of puzzle, or anything?
What do you want? Do you have one available? Do you?
No, I'm just asking what to expect. This newsletter
do people do word searches in newsletters?
Yeah, right. All this stuff's electronic. Nobody's buying a newspaper, right? So all this.
I don't know if I have the technical capabilities to make a.
No, I'm just asking. Is it trivia?
I mean, I can ask them trivia questions. I asked a trivia question this week and Around the Kingdom that you and Elo again.
We are terrible at that.
Just bricked on.
It's been off the rails since Elo thought NASA stood for something agricultural. I don't know.
Yeah.
He needs to quit. He really needed to come out there saying, I'm just kidding, guys. I knew it all the time.
What's really been erased from our memory is he then said the first woman in space was Neil Armstrong. We've just glossed right over that because we've just clung on to the NASA thing, but he just got a pass on that. That's
he did get a pass. I want to thank Coach Lounsbury for being with us, and one half of the Raspy Voice kids, Brandon, for being with us. Everybody who's traveling out, including yours truly, 7:10 a.m. flight out of Orlando into Pittsburgh. Safe travels. Bring the warm gear, and look for Robert, 2 letters, 2 words, at I to report from Morgantown. Look for Robert in the tailgate parking lots. He's bound to find somebody for his newest column, which I think this week, I forgot to mention that, was on sonsofUCF.com, his recap of the experience on the asphalt tailgating lots in.
I got a lot of heat, no pun intended.
Yeah.
Is Robert going to be okay going back to Arizona by himself? Does he need protection?
How many years until we play there again, right? Thankful for all of you. Happy, safe Thanksgiving. Thank you, Adam, for all you do for Sons of UCF. For Adam Eaton, I'm Trey Strelka. Go Knights!
Charge on!
I'm Benny Williams. Thank you for watching the Sons of UCF.
Benny Williams.
He's a good player.
He's an interesting guy. He's an interesting player.
He's a good player.